स्वरति मनीतौ त्वं भजमानः.
O mind, abandon the prostitute of mundane talks, who plunders all intelligence. Do not listen at all to the stories of the tigress named Mukti, liberation, who devours all soul. Moreover, also give up the attachment to the husband of the Lakshmi Srinarayana, who only lives only to Vaikuntha. Instead, here in Braja, serve Sri Radha Krishna, who give one the jewel of their own love.
असक्चेष्टकाष्ठप्रद कटपशालिभिरीह प्रकामं कमादिप्रकटपथपाति व्यतिकारे गले पात्वहान्येऽहम् इति पकभिर्वर्त्मपगने कुरु त्वं फुट्कारन् आवति स यथा त्वं मन ईतः.
While here on the revealed path of devotions, I have been attacked by the gang of my own lust, etc., who have bound my neck with the troublesome, dreadful drops of wicked deeds. I am being killed. Cry out piteously like this to the devotees of Sri Krishna, the destroyer of Baka. O mine, they will save you from these enemies.
परिचितप्रोद्यत्कपटकुतिनाति भरखारा शरान्मूत्रे स्नात्वा दहसि कथम् आत्मानम् अपि माम् सदा त्वं गन्धर्वगिरिधर पदप्रेम विलास शुद्धं बुद्धौ स्नात्वा त्वम् अपि नितरं मम च सुखाय.
O ruffian mind, why do you burn yourself and me, the soul, by bathing in the trickling urine of the great donkey of full-blown hypocrisy and duplicity? Instead, you should always bath in the ocean of love emanating from the lotus feet of Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari, thereby delighting yourself in me.
प्रतिष्ठा शदृष्टा स्वपचारमानि मेरिदीनापये कथं साधु प्रेम स्पृशति शुचिरेतान्ननुमानः सदा त्वं सेवस्व प्रभुदयित समन्तम् अतुलम् यथा त्वं निष्कास्य त्वरितम् इह त्वं वेशयति सः.
As long as the unchaste dog-eating woman of desire for prestige dances in my heart, how can the chaste and pure lady of love for Krishna touch it? Therefore, O mind, you should always serve the incomparable beloved devotees, commander of Krishna's army, who will immediately throw out the unchaste woman and establish the pure lady of love in the heart.
यथा दुष्टत्वं मे दापयति शठस्यापि कृपाया यथा मह्यं प्रेमामृतमपि ददाति उज्ज्वलमासौ यथा श्रीगन्धर्व भजन विद्याये प्रेरयति माम् तथा गोष्ठे काक्व गिरिधरम् इह त्वं भजमानः.
Even though I am a cheater, the Lord's mercy can drive away my inherent wicked nature. Give me the glowing nectar of divine love and inspire my heart with the process of worship Sri Gandharvika. Therefore, O mind, with pleading words you should worship Sri Giridhari here in Vrindavan.
मदीशनाथात्वे व्रज विपिन चन्द्रं व्रजवने स्वरिन्तान्नथात्वे तत् अतुल सखित्वे तुललितम् विशाखं शिक्षालि वितरण गुरुत्वे प्रियसारो गिरीन्द्रौ तत्प्रेक्षा ललितारतिधात्वे स्मरमानः.
O mind, meditate on Krishna, the moon of the Vrindavan forest, as the Lord of my leader, Sri Radhika. Meditate on Sri Radhika as his most dear object of love. Meditate on Sri Lalita as her incomparable friend. Meditate on Sri Vishakha as the foremost guru distributing the teachings of love. And meditate on Radha Krishna, Radha Kund and Govardhana as giver of the sight and love of Sri Radha Krishna.
रतिं गौरीलीले अपि तपति सौन्दर्यकिराने शचीलक्ष्मी सत्ये परिभवति सौभाग्यवलाने वशीकरैश्चन्द्रावलीमुखनवीन व्रजसातिः क्षिपति आराध्या तं हरिदयाति राधं भजमानः.
O mind, offer your worship unto Sri Radhika, the beloved of love Hari. She outshines Rati, the wife of Kamdev, Gauri, the wife of Lord Shiva, and Leela, the potency of Lord Vishnu. By the effulgence of her beauty, she defeats Shachi, the wife of Indra, Lakshmi and Satya, the Krishna's wife. By the waves of her good fortune, she defeats the pride of the newly married gopis of Raja, headed by Chandravali, though her power to control Krishna.
समां श्रीरूपेण स्मर विभाष राधा गिरिभेतो व्रजे साक्षात् सेवालभन विधाये तद्गणयुजः तदीजाख्यध्यान श्रवणनति पञ्चामृतमिदम् ध्यानानित्यगोवर्धनम् अनुदीनम् त्वं भजमानः.
O mind, you should every day drink the five nectars, worship, glories, meditations, listening to divine pastimes, and offering obeisances, and worship Govardhan according to the rules. In this way, follow the instruction of Sri Rupa and obtain the direct service of Sri Radha Giridhari, who are captivated by the god of amorous love in the company of their associate in Vraja.
मनशिक्षदैकादशकवरम् एतन्मधुराय गिरिगायति उच्चै समाधि गता सर्वर्थयति यः सायुध्या श्रीरूपानुग इह भवन् गोकुलवने जनो राधाकृष्ण तुलभजन रत्नं सलभते.
Becoming a follower of Sri Rupa and his companions, one who with a sweet voice loudly recites these 11 supreme verses, which give instruction to the mind, that strives to understand all of their meanings completely, obtain the incomparable jewel of worshipping Sri Radha Krishna in the forest of Gokula. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Dandavat Pranam to all. Thank you for the seva.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Savata Mataji and Raksha Mataji. That was a really wonderful, splendid decision. I'm so elated, to hear Shri Manasiks again. So please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back again. Just a minute, okay. So, Hare Krishna again. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back. So, we first offer our prayers to our Guru Parampara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the glorification of the six Goswamis of Sri Vrindavan. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarugyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha. O most ministering incarnation, you are Krishna himself, appearing Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You have assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani, and we are widely distributing pure love of Krishna. We offer respectful obeisances unto you. Krishna Varnam Krisha Krishnam Sangapangastra Parshadam Yagna Sankirtana Praye Yajanti Sumedasa. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregation chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Nana Sastra Vicharne Kanipunau Shad Dharma Samstapakau Lokanam Hitakarinau Tribhuane Manyau Sharanya Karau Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Ananden Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugau Shri Jiva Gopalakau. I offer my respect Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizing and studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the loving the transcendental service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Narom Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtati. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Govindam Adipurusham Tam Bhaja. Hare Krishna. Again, please accept my humble obeisances. All good Srila Prabhupada. So now we are going to hear from Sri Madhurya Kadambini, lesson 5 today. Tomorrow we'll do lesson 6. So before I begin lesson 5, I don't know who's doing, but somebody's going to do a recapping for us, lesson 4. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisance. So in the last class of Sri Madhurya Kadambini, we did lesson 4, which covered text 3C, 3E, text 4, and 5A and 5B. The topic is Bhagwan's mercy potency is entrusted to the devotee. In text 3C, it says that Bhakti is not caused by any pious act. Here, the reference was given of Sridhar Swami's explanation about Yadarchaya Kenapi Bhagyotaya. Here, the word Yadarchaya, meaning by the emergence of some good fortune born of virtuous action, was highlighted. It was said that the word Yadarchaya should be interpreted correctly based on the Shruti statement. It is incorrect to say that Bhakti is born due to good fortune, Shubha Karma, or virtuous act, because then Bhakti would become subservient to Karma, which is against the Shruti statement. Absence of virtuous deed is also incorrect because then the cause would be indescribable and unknown. But Bhakti is self-manifest and is of its own accord is correct because it matches with the Shruti statement. In text 3D, the question was, is Bhakti then attained by the mercy of Bhagwan, which raised the doubt of Lord being unfair if it is due to his causeless mercy? Doesn't he punish the wicked and protect his devotees? So in text 3D and 4A, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained that the mercy of Bhagwan's devotees is the cause of Bhakti. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very clearly explained that it is the mercy of the Lord's devotees. Through the mercy of Mahat Kripa, Bhagwan transmits his Bhakti and not by good fortune or pious deeds or Shubha Karma. Like Bhagwan, his devotees are also causelessly merciful. It is because of the Madhyam Adhikari Bhakta, the intermediate devotee, that the ordinary people come to the Bhakti platform by Sadhu Sangha. An intermediate or a second-class devotee, Madhyam Adhikari, offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend of all the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to ignorant people who are innocent, and those who are envious to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Yadharchaya means good fortune born of the mercy of exalted souls and not fortune or pious deeds. The devotees do not have any control in regard to the mercy Bhagwan bestows upon them. But in the matter of distributing mercy to other jivas, Bhagwan has personally made his own mercy potency flow through his bhaktas. Bhagwan says, surrender completely to him, and by his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and supreme eternal abode. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Bhagwan has, of his own accord, bestowed this kind of excellence upon his devotees. Jiva Goswami also, in his Bhakti Sandarbha, states that it would have been impossible for anyone to attain the mercy of Bhagwan if it was not for the mercy of his devotees. Mahat Kripa. Further, in text 4b, there are statements in Srimad Bhagavatam which cause confusion. First, if one engages with great endeavor in the mystic yoga system, charity, vows, penances, study of the Vedas, renounced order of life still cannot achieve me. And second, devotional service unto Lord Krishna is attained by charity, strict vows, austerities, and study of Vedas, observance of regulative principles. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that when a devotee is worshipping Supreme Personality of Godhead, offers results of activities to free himself from fruitive actions is doing devotion in the mode of goodness. But the transcendental bhakti means to do dana, giving charity to Vishnu and Vaishnavas. Vrata refers to observing Ekadashi. Renunciation is enjoyment for the sake of Lord Krishna's pleasure. Homa refers to Vaishnava Homa or offering Lord's food remnants and so on to the Vaishnavas. Japa refers to uttering of the Vishnu mantra or Gayatri. Swadhyaya refers to the reading of Shruti like Gopal Tapni Upanishad. In this way, importance for the other limbs of bhakti should be understood, and charity and other deeds performed for any other cause can never be the cause of bhakti. Further, it is said that in the absence of bhakti, jnana, karma, and yoga are fruitless. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur focuses on the dependence of bhakti on practices like karma, jnana, and yoga. Lord Brahma says that devotional service to Supreme Personality of Godhead is the best path of self-realization. Someone who gives up this path and takes up to other troublesome process cannot achieve the desired result. Many yogis in the world achieve the platform of devotional service by offering their endeavors to Supreme Personality of Godhead and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties. By such devotional service and by the process of hearing and chanting, they could easily surrender and achieve the supreme abode. Narad Muni also advises Vyasadeva that one who forsakes material occupation and engages in devotional service of Supreme Personality of Godhead may fall down in immature stage, but there is still no danger of being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee who is fully engaged in occupational devotees do not gain anything. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Sarartha Varshini comments on four kinds of practitioners who cultivate jnana or Brahma jnana. First, jnana devoid of bhakti can give mukti to the jnanis. Second, Brahmaji comments on Bhakti Mishra jnanis who accept severe austerity just to achieve highest position, but they fall down because they have no regard for the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Third, some aspire to merge in God's Brahma Jyoti to attain liberation, which is Sayujya Mukti. And the fourth type of jnani is supremely fortunate because while cultivating jnana, they attain association of Mahabhagavata by the mercy of Bhagwan. As a result, they bypass their goal of achieving liberation to taste the sweetness of Bhakti Rasa. And lastly, we saw that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions Bhakti Devi does not rely on other yogas or other processes to bestow her fruit of Krishna Prema, whereas Jnanis, Karmis and Yogis fully rely on Bhakti to attain the goal of their process. Therefore, Lord Krishna says to Uddhava, a devotee should be completely engaged in my loving service with fixed mind. Knowledge and renunciation is not generally the means of achieving the highest perfection in the world. The other processes of yogas are not essential for devotional service. Nevertheless, good qualities such as non-violence and control of mind, causeless knowledge, and detachment from the world are automatically achieved by a devotee. Everything that can be achieved by fruitive actions can be achieved through devotional service. Hence, pure devotional service towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the best path to achieve the highest perfection. And today, Prabhuji will further elaborate the futility of other practices devoid of bhakti in lesson 1. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, over to you. Dandavat Pranam.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so beautifully done, Samita Mataji. I really liked it very much. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back again. So, as Mataji said, now we go on to lesson 5, the futility of any practice, such as jnana, karma, and Ashtanga yoga, if it is devoid of bhakti. So throughout these lessons 2 through 7, what we are doing is to show, Vishwanath Chakravarti is trying to show us the preeminence of bhakti Bhakti does not depend on anything else, but Bhakti brings Bhakti. That is the underlying message, lesson 2 to 7. So today we'll be doing lesson 5. Then tomorrow we'll do lesson 6. Next week do lesson 7. And then from lesson 8 onwards, that's when we actually get into this Madhurya Kadambini, what it is designed for, from Shraddha to Prema stages, progressive stages. And that is the one really, I'm sure we are all looking forward to it. Begins with how we develop Shraddha in our heart and how we strengthen that Shraddha, faith. Its whole thing is compared, giving the analogy of planting a seed of Bhakti. Bhakti, what kind of Bhakti? Navada Bhakti, ninefold devotional service, beginning with simply hearing. Shumatam Swakata Krishna. And then that Bhakti Lata Bij. Lata means it's the vine, okay? V-I-N-E. That grows if the heart, the field is properly tilled, given right kind of fertilizers, then the seed will sprout and it will germinate. The first 2 leaves comes out and then this goes all the way until the vine gets the buds of the flowers and the fruit. The fruit is Prema Bhakti. So that we will get into as soon as we hear Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur spending so many verses just to show us that Bhakti brings Bhakti. Bhakti does not depend on anything else. Rather, the Jnana, Karma, and the Ashtanga Yoga depends on Bhakti. If it is not, then it doesn't work. You know? Okay, with that kind of short introduction, we move on. So this is what lesson 5, the themes are. These are from the text 5, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay, and you see, text 5C, the futility of any practice devoid of bhakti. Lesson, this text 5B, in the performance of bhakti, considerations such as purity of time, place are not required. No hard and fast rules and regulations when you want to practice bhakti. In Karma Yoga, errors in the utterance, pronunciation of the Sanskrit verses makes a huge difference. The intended reason that might not bring fruit if slight mistakes in the pronunciation is made, but not so in bhakti. You know, then Jnana Yoga is subservient to karma. In fact, one of the lessons we will learn that Jnana, some people who subscribe to Jnana, they say that Jnana must be there in order to get bhakti. You know, Jnana means Atma Jnana, that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. But Vishwanath Chakravarti is going to show, oh boy, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to show, excuse me, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is going to show us that that is not so. Then text 5G, even Krishna says, even my devotee may have lust in his heart, but when he hears my Krishna Katha, especially this Madhurya Leela, the Rasa Leela, just hearing that, in fact, our heart gets purified off from lust to prema. You know, so that is, so everything we hear about Radha and Krishna, our heart gets purified. Then Shastra does not criticize even a depraved person. What is depraved person? Somebody who is very conniving, very evil, very corrupt, that kind of person. But even those kind of people, Shastra does not criticize when he is engaged in bhakti. We will hear the examples of Jagai Madhai, Now, the next example Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives in text 5I is the Ajamil case. Everybody is quite familiar with the Ajamil case. We will hear that in what connection Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is quoting Ajamila to actually show that bhakti, even though he chanted a mere semblance, means kind of abhasa, he was chanting Hare Krishna, Lord Narayana, and not directly, because his youngest son, to whom he was so attached, when the death was about to ensue, he was chanting Lord Narayana, but he was actually chanting his youngest son. But even then, the potency of Mahamantra, chanting of the holy name, did bring a result. In fact, the Yamadutas who came taking to the Yamaraja, they were defeated by the Vishnu Dutas. Then last but not least, the path such as Karma Yoga are all dependent on bhakti to realize its full impact. Otherwise, they are not effective. So these are the themes. These I just walked you through. Now we will go through each individual themes, and we will hear what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying. Okay. So here, lesson 5, so many themes are there. So what we'll do, we will zoom in the 4 quadrants, okay, in the clockwise direction, beginning from top right, like this. The yellow box showing that one. First we'll zoom, then we'll zoom this box, then we'll zoom this box. So northeast, north, south, and then will this, and the final, the 4th box is this one. Okay. So here, so in this one, text 5C through D, CD. Text 5C says the futility of any practice devoid of bhakti. For those devoid of bhakti, high birth in the Brahmana class, erudition in Vedic and other scriptural texts, and self-discipline and austerity are just like decorating a corpse with fine clothes and ornaments for the satisfaction of worldly people. What it's saying, that really, if there is no bhakti, then this high birth, being born in a very good family, Brahmana class family, or high education, very well scholarly, advanced in Shastra, or self-discipline and great austerity, all this thing counts nothing. It's the analogy is given, it's like decorating a dead body. So it has no meaning then, So same way, bhakti has to be there. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments I put in right there to this particular verse, text. And those scriptural statements saying just what we just heard convey the futility of practices that are devoid of bhakti. Okay, that in jnana, karma, ashtanga yoga, no doubt they have, each of these practices do have virtues, but if it is not dovetailed to bhakti, then its full realization does not take place. Okay? But bhakti itself is totally independent. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that whatever fruit is to be obtained through observing one of these practices, either jnana, karma, and so like that, or even japa, tapa, and all such austerities and penances that you do, they also are indeed subordinate to bhakti. If bhakti is not there independently, they have no value. It's like decorating a dead body. Incomparably greater Bhakti Devi herself, just as the body is subordinate to the life air. If the person is living and decorates, that's what. But if the person is now, the life air is already left. So the person is dead, and then you decorate, it has no meaning. So then these 5D, in the performance of bhakti, considerations such as purity of time and place are not required. There are no hard and fast rules in chanting the holy name like that, performing bhakti. So here is an example is given. O hunter, the indescribable greatness of Harinam, the holy name, is such that its performance is not restricted by place or time. Anytime you can do that. It can be chanted even when a person has food in his mouth and on his hands, in any condition, whether pure or contaminated. There is never any prohibition on the performance of Nam Sankirtanam. There's another verse quoted there. O best of the Bhrugus, upon being uttered one time, whether with faith or impulsively, the holy name of Shri Krishna delivers a man from suffering. And here, as you can see, Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments I'm sharing with you. The primary fruit of chanting the holy name of Shri Krishna, therefore, whoever performs kirtana of his name one time in any manner, most certainly obtains liberation, which is Krishna Kirtan's inherent concomitant fruit. One obtains this result even upon indistinctly uttering the nama. So what it says that there are no rules and regulations for bhakti, this particular holy name of rendering bhakti. In fact, I remember a long time back I read in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I believe, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what happened once he went to Saucha early morning to clear his belly, and Mahaprabhu was used to chant Hare Krishna all the time, 24 hours a day. Okay, so then he started feeling a little bit odd that now, at this particular time when he was in the morning, he felt kind of odd how to chant. But then one of his disciples, they pointed out to him that Mahaprabhu, you yourself said that holy name can be chanted anywhere, anytime. So even at that time, we hear the chanting of the holy name is still allowed. So that is the power of chanting the holy name. It purifies even the most inauspicious elements. It makes it auspicious. Moving on, text 5E through G. 5E in Karma Yoga. So now we are going to hear that statement made earlier that Jnana, Karma, Ashtanga Yoga These are the processes, self-realization, okay, just like Bhakti Yoga. But if it's not dovetailed to Bhakti, then its results are incomplete, not perfect, you know. So that is what we are doing. First, Karma Yoga. One who is inept in Sanskrit grammar intones Vishnaya. Let's say we say Vishnave Namaha, right? Right way to say that. But if you say Vishnaya, namely when offering obeisance to Lord Vishnu, whereas one who is learned, he would say Vishnave Namaha, proper way of saying that, okay, saying that. But both achieve equal piety by their offering of obeisance, because the name Vishnu itself is very auspicious. Doesn't matter how you pronounce, because of the Supreme Lord, Sri Janardana, that is Krishna, only accepts a person's inner mood. So Krishna sees our feeling, our bhava, you know. He overlooks our not doing it proper bhakti, you know, and he in fact glorifies whatever little we do for him in rendering bhakti, you know. Then here Jnana Yoga is subservice. So we already heard about karma in now Jnana. In fact, karma, we just heard that if it is not properly pronounced, then the intended result won't come. And we'll see one example, I'll give you that. So here the example is the Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives, that is given in the 6th canto. You know what once happened, Indra offended his guru, Dev Guru Brihaspati, who is the guru, spiritual master of all the demigods. So Indra was coming on his Airavata, the elephant, he was coming, and on the other side, his guru was coming, Brihaspati. Okay, so Brihaspati, as soon as coming, he is supposed to get down the elephant and offer his obeisances. But instead, what he did, he threw the garland of flowers to the trunk of the elephant, and of course, the elephant put it under his teeth, under his foot, you know, and crushed it. So Brihaspati got greatly annoyed, and he immediately left that place. Okay, so now the demigods were devoid of the spiritual directions by Brihaspati. So and as soon as that happened, and the words went to the demons, and demons realized now Indra is devoid of any protection from spiritual master. So now is the time to attack. And they did. They attacked the heavenly planets and defeated all the demigods, you know. And Indra had to really flee and hide himself, you know. So now they lost the kingdom because they offended their guru, you know. Then so happened they went to Lord Brahma. What should be done? So Lord Brahma said that now you accept another spiritual master. And he suggested the son of son, that is Vishwarupa, who happened to be the son of the great, very, very highly devoted, respected spiritual master, Trashta, you know, Trashta Rishi. So they had no choice, demigods. So they agreed rather reluctantly, because it so happened the son of Trishta, Vishwarupa, from mother's side, there was a demon blood. Okay, he was the son of a grandson of a demon woman, you know, that Trishta Rishi had married. So Vishwarupa, of course, completed the great yajna for the demigods, but secretly what he did, because he had a soft corner for the demons, so he gave the part of the virtue of mantras to the demons, and Indra immediately saw that, and he became very angry. Immediately he beheaded Vishwarupa. Then what happened? The word went to his father, Trishta, and Trishta became very angry. So what he did, he chanted the mantras with the intention to create a very powerful enemy of Indra, who would kill Indra. In Sanskrit verse, it said that. But when he was uttering that verse, he did not do it properly. He uttered with the incorrect pronunciation. In Sanskrit word like chita and chinta, is a gulf of different. Chita means what? It's the burning fire, burning the corpse. The chinta is the worries, so there's so much difference, there's so many other examples. So instead of creating a demon, creating a great enemy of Indra who would kill Indra, the way he pronounced it, it meant that somebody who will be killed by Indra, instead of like that. So it turned out that person was Vitrasura. Of course, Vitrasura was a demon, no doubt. He was born as a demon, but he was a great devotee. Nonetheless, it so happened ultimately that turned out he was his enemy, Indra's enemy. So this is an example in pronouncing right verses properly, otherwise completely different meaning will be there. But bhakti, even if it done imperfectly, it will bring its result. So now we'll see the example of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, if subservient to karma, now that is kind of a little odd to hear, right? Jnana, depending upon karma. But on yoga later we see that actually. Karma kanda, karma yoga, sakam karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga, and then jnana ashtanga yoga, and then jnana platform, right? So jnana in that regard depends on the progression from nishkam karma yoga. Nishkam means what? You're performing karma, but without any expectation of any result. Okay. So in that way, jnana would depend on karma. Okay. So that is why it says that jnana is subservient to karma. In the slightest deviation is condemned. Because jnana, you need a purity of the mind. If the mind is not pure, then jnana is futile. So here this verse from Bhagavad Gita: O Arjuna, without attachment, that is being devoid of the craving, the gain, the fruit of action, always perform your prescribed duties. By performing those duties in a detached manner, Nishkam Karma Yoga, the consciousness becomes pure. Only then, only when the consciousness is pure, the mind is pure, then only the jnana works. Is pure, will become eligible to cultivate jnana. So there is a condition. Therefore, one attains salvation. What is the jnana? Jnanis do that for getting moksha, right? Ultimately to become liberation. Liberation is the goal, and then merge in the Brahma Jyoti of the Supreme Lord, impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So that's called Saivijya Mukti. That is their goal, but their goal remains elusive if it's not properly done. X5G, the eradication of lust. Krishna says, and he sympathizes with us, that his devotees may have some lingering desire, lusty desires in his heart, and still Krishna does not give up that devotee. In fact, he lets the devotee hear his pastimes, especially the pastimes in Rasa Leela, that his conjugal pastimes with the gopis. Okay, so it seemed like that there is like that, but that's not lust, that's prema. So when a devotee hears that, even whatever the lusty feelings might be there, because the previous conceptions from previous lifetimes that might still be there, they get purified. Even Gopal Tapani Upanishad also said the same thing. So anyone who faithfully hears and describes the Lord's playful affairs with the young gopis of Vrindavan will attend the Lord's pure devotional service. That is wonderful. So corollary is also true. That means Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, although it may seem lusty, but actually it is not. That's pure prema. The lust comes from the three modes of material nature. Okay, this prema is transcendental, beyond the modes of material nature, and Krishna is all transcendental, and so are the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani. They are all transcendental. There is not a tinge of material thing, so it cannot be lust by that very definition, you know. And that too also, not only that, simply hearing about that, it purifies we are material bodies, and whatever the lusty feelings might be there in our heart, that also gets purified. That is so wonderful to hear about that. So, in fact, that encourages us all the time. We keep hearing Krishna Katha, you know, and that was one of the reasons when the six those questions raised by the sages of Naimisharmya, when they asked Suta Goswami that why did Krishna, the son of Nanda, came to this world, this material world, why did he descend? So the answer, Suta Goswami said, to reclaim his devotees. And how did he plan to reclaim? By enacting the sweet human-like pastimes. Only Krishna, none of his expansions can do that, you know. And with his four, this Vani Madhurya, Lila Madhurya, Prema Madhurya, that four elements. So he enacted sweet pastime, and simply hearing that, we become purified. That is the power, you know. So that is how he made us he makes us qualified to go back to our spiritual world. All the inauspicious elements are there. It becomes purified from our heart when we simply hear about Krishna's wonderful sweet pastimes. So para bhakti, that is the bhakti, transcendental bhakti, is attained even while lust remains, lingering lust, because Krishna automatically purifies it. It gets destroyed through hearing and reciting Rasa Leela pastimes. Okay, so let's take the short break before we continue.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
પ્રભુજી પેલો શ્લોક બહુ સરસ છે, હું ચેન્ટ કરું આ ભગવત ભક્તિ હીનસ્ય વાળું. હા પ્રભુજી, હરે કૃષ્ણ. SB 7.9.10 ભગવત ભક્તિ હીનસ્ય જાતિ શાસ્ત્ર જપ તપ અપ્રાણસ્ય દેહસ્ય મંડનમ લોકરंजनम. अभी जो प्रभु जी ने समझाया वो श्लोक है. हरे कृष्ण.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to show that sloka. I forgot that.
પ્રભુજી ભક્તિ વૈભવ કરવાનો સૌથી મોટો ફાયદો શ્લોકા રિસાઇટિંગ. એટલા બધા શ્લોકા મોઢે થઈ ગયા છે, એટલું આનંદ આવે ને, આખો દિવસ શ્લોકા મોઢે કરી શકું છું.
That's the beauty part of it. Okay. We're almost resuming. Hare Krishna. So now, this picture must be quite familiar. This is the famous verse in Bhagavad Gita, Pichit Sudurachara. That verse is here. Now we are going to hear about that. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is about to kill this Jagai and Madhai. So they offended Lord Nityananda, shown in the side, in the blue clothes. Lord Nityananda is Lord Balarama, and of course Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. And Jagai and Madhai not only offended, but they hit Lord Nityananda with a rock on the head, and Lord Nityananda here was bleeding actually. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very angry, and with his Sudarshan Chakra, he was about to kill Jagai and Madai. At that time, Lord Nityananda, who was offended, who was injured, rather than getting angry with Jagai and Madai, in fact, he prevented Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from killing them and reminded Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiver Daya, that means it was Mahaprabhu's own words to show mercy all living beings. And that's how Jagai Madai was saved. So that is the words what we are going to hear. Api cheta su duracharo. Even the worst and worst offense anyone can commit. Api means in spite of that, in spite of su duracharo. Duracharo, achar means doing something. Duracharo means worst kind of it. Su duracharo, the worst of the worst kind of offense can somebody commit suicide. Provided bhajate mama ananya bhav, with great love is chanting the holy name and rendering bhakti, and by mistake or something, if a devotee commits some offense, then Krishna says sadhur eva sa mantavya, then they should still be considered as sadhu, the high class devotees, and because he is going to purify from within. Samyad avyasito isaha, that means he is he is in fact warning us not to criticize his devotees for any little bit falling down. So su api cheta su duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhav sadhu eva sa manyate. They must be considered as sadhu, even though they might have momentarily fallen down. Samyak vivasito hi saha. So even the most sinful man, if he worships me with devotion, must be regarded as righteous. So he has formed the right resolution. That is the power of bhakti. Krishna overlooks that, and Krishna says we have no right to criticize his devotees. In fact, the next verse says that that he will purify, rectify his devotee from within himself. So that is what is here. Shastra does not criticize even a depraved, a person who is corrupt, evil-minded, and so on like that. Even a depraved person in his performance of bhakti. That is the power of bhakti. So apichet sudarachara. Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. He is performing bhakti. So see, look at the power of bhakti. He quickly becomes so. Next verse, Krishna says, Shidram, I immediately rectify him. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Name bhakta pradashyate. That was a renunciant who has taken refuge in the path of jnana, but whose mind and senses remain uncontrolled. See, unlike bhakti, a jnani, his mind must be pure. Even a slight pollution, he falls down and he does not realize his ultimate goal of getting Sahaja Mukti. Who has taken refuge in the path of jnana, but whose mind and senses remain uncontrolled, is devoid of knowledge and renunciation, and is impelled, forced, compelled by his charioteer-like intelligence. He makes a show of bearing a danda. He may be having a sannyasi, but it's for his show, solely for the purpose of maintaining his livelihood. Krishna says to Uddhava, oh my dear Uddhava, if my devotee has not fully conquered his senses, so jnani must be perfect, but bhakta need not be perfect. Krishna still would appreciate his attempt to render devotional service despite having weaknesses, right? So that's what he assures Uddhava, that if my devotee has not fully conquered his senses, he's still in a practicing stage. He may be harassed by material desires. See, that's really, I like this verse very much, because I know my heart is not still pure, and still I'm trying to practice bhakti and trying to preach from whatever the level I am. I know I'm not perfect being. Still, I'm trying, because preaching is one way of rendering bhakti, a very powerful way of rendering bhakti. It automatically purifies our heart, So that's where he says that he may be harassed by material desires, but because of his unflinching devotion to me, for me, he will not be bereft of that, and he will be purified eventually. Krishna assures that. So that's what here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comments. Bhagavan's attachment to the devotee is totally natural. Consequently, even if a devotee is ill-behaved, sometimes we commit mistakes, errors, still bhakti will never be destroyed. Even and Bhagavan in time will elevate him to an exalted position. It is solely with the aim of clearly expressing this point that this verse has descended to this world. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes actually. At this point, some persons make conjecture. Now, here the Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that somebody may doubt, may question. What they make it question? Is it not that someone is a sadhu to the degree he does exclusive bhajana of Bhagavan, okay? And to the degree he acts wickedly, he is not isn't he? He's not a sadhu. The question might comes that how can we call sadhu if he commits some errors, in his bhakti, and still the lusty desires might be in him? How can we call sadhu? That somebody might question. So to answer this, it is said sadhur eva. So this is the commentary Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments to that particular verse, apichet sudurachara. So that's the reason I decided to show this thing. So the explanation is here. That is by virtue of the word eva, sadhur eva, certainly. The word emphasizes, eva means emphasize, certainly. He is never to be conceived of as unsaintly. That means he must be considered as sadhur eva, certainly, to any degree at all. In fact, he is to be accepted as a sadhu entirely. Moreover, there is another reason why Bhagavan is advocating that he is to be honored as a sadhu. The second reason, his intelligence is thoroughly fixed in bhakti unto me, Krishna says. So it depends on consciousness. We commit errors, and sometimes because of this lingering material desires might be there within us, but still we are trying our best to render bhakti to Krishna, and Krishna appreciates that, and it will help us to remove those last tinges of the undesirable elements, inauspicious elements within our heart. Excuse me. So in other words, the merit of such a person's resolve is that even if he has to go to hell for that unrelenting sins that he might have committed, he will not give up one-pointed Krishna bhajana at any cost. That is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sharartha Darshini comments, particularly that particular verse, Apichet Sudachara. Moving on, text 5I through J, text 5I. Now the example of Ajamil is given. Ajamil chanted Lord Narayana, but he did not chant with that objective. He remembered the last moment of his life was there, and he was attached to his youngest son, whose name also happened to be Narayana. In fact, those saintly persons who visited Ajamil, they actually recommended that he name the youngest son as Narayana. They foresaw that, So Ajamil, who's standing as a devotee, was confirmed by the Vishnu Dutas. Even though he was desolate, being overcome by affection for his son, Ajamil uttered Bhagwan's name, Lord Narayana, in reference to his son actually. But even that semblance, just abhasa, since his son's name was Narayana, Ajamil was still depraved individual. He committed offenses there. Actually, in that regard, he did not offend anybody actually, But he's standing as a bhakta merely by his uttering a semblance of Bhagwan's name is celebrated. That saved him from going to Yamaraj. Yamadutas had come to take him there, but Vishnu Dutta prevented that. So that was really wonderful. He's chanting of the holy name, just Lord Narayana. Actually, it was not Lord Narayana he was chanting, like I told you. He chanted, he just recalled his youngest son, in great desperation. But nonetheless, the potency of uttering the name Narayana, so that's what say Ante Narayana Smriti, always remember Lord Narayana, even at the last moment when we are not sure what will be our physical and mental condition. But Krishna help us remember him. There is in fact, there's a verse in Shri Upanishad also. Krishna help us to remember him at our last moments, because we cannot be sure what would be the condition of our physical body and the mind, and still he help us. That is the greatness. That is really, I admire that. Okay, 5J. Paths such as karma yoga are dependent on bhakti. First, if they are not doubted to bhakti, the result of those avenues, jnana, karma, and so on like that, it becomes unsuccessful, and they must be dependent on bhakti. So unlike in bhakti practice, bhakti is not subject to that kind of controls, regulations. It can be pursued in every way that disciplines like karma, yoga, and jnana depend on bhakti. They depend on bhakti, but bhakti is not dependent on anything else. Bhakti depends on bhakti. There are factors that make these processes successful, and there are factors that hinder them. These processes are not themselves independent. So that ends it. So what did we hear today? We saw in comparison, side by side comparison, the three other paths, jnana, karma, and ashtanga yoga, they must be doubted to bhakti to realize its full fruit. If not, then they become unsuccessful. In contrast, bhakti is not dependent on anything else. Even there are defects in our bhakti, rendering bhakti, still bhakti will bring its result. Krishna will overlook our faults, and he will purify us from within. Even apichet suddharachara, the greatest offense that we might commit, of course, not knowingly, obviously, that doesn't give us a license to commit anything, but that depends on our consciousness. Something by mistake, it happens because of our conceptions from previous lives, it may happen, but still we are committed to render bhakti, then Krishna overlooks, and in fact, he would purify us from within our heart, So that is the powerful of bhakti. I'll stop here and see if there are comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Such a wonderful session, Prabhu, and such a promising things, okay, which we have seen today. It's it's like when we're reading Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, okay, the Prabhupada purpose. So he always glorifies bhakti. So now, okay, we are understanding how the parampara, like Vishnu Chakravarti, okay, elaborated from the Vedas, okay, not just written just like that, okay, Vedas, okay, how it got glorified uh, bhakti, and very very happy to see that we are in that direction, bro. I have only one question, Prabhu. Like
Sure.
one point, yeah. Uh, at one place, I think you mentioned that Krishna Bhakti is there everywhere. So it means that even in the lower planets, or all the 14 planets, Krishna Bhakti is there.
Yeah, bhakti is everywhere, anywhere, and everything.
So means we can do Bhakti in any of the planet, wherever we go.
Yes, wherever we are. Yeah. And Krishna helps us, and whatever even imperfect way we might be doing, rendering bhakti, still he would overlook and he will purify us from within. And it's not depend on any kind of rules and regulations, unlike any other Vedic mantras that must be spoken without any errors,
Okay.
Bhakti.
So we should desire, okay, that even if I go lower planet, even if I go higher planet, that that bhakti, I somehow or other I should be connected to devotees and I should connect to bhakti. That is the only a request to Krishna I should be giving every time, because we don't know what is my destiny. That is what we should do.
Now that you ask this question about that any planet we might be there, can we render bhakti or not? It reminds me just a few months ago, in one of the classes, I gave an example. I came across an example when Krishna visited to save, bring back son of his guru from the Yamaraja, right? He went there, and there, as soon as Krishna entered in this hellish planet, everything was on the point. Everybody were completely purified of their crimes. They were there to be punished in the hellish planets, but as soon as the entry of Krishna was there, totally they were completely purified, and they went back. So that is the power of Krishna Bhakti, in Krishna himself. Even those the fructified karma, they were there to be punished, they were completely forgiven their offenses. That is so that really kind of a powerful incentive that we should chant Hare Krishna everywhere, anywhere. It will protect us from the greatest fear. Greatest fear means what? We may have to come back in the next world. Then we don't have to do it.
Yes, thank you very much. But just one follow point. I'll just take off.
Yeah.
So bhakti can be do everywhere. Okay, so from there also we can go back to Vaikuntha, or maybe if you do little bhakti in the lower planets or higher planets, again we'll come back to this world, this planet Earth, and then we go back to Krishna Prabhu. So always.
No, what it means actually, we don't go back to spiritual right away, but we get like what happened to Ajamila. Ajamila was prevented from going to have to go to Yamaraj, right? But then he was given a new life. He did not go to spiritual world, it was new life, and he continued purifying himself, chanting the holy name and so on like that. So he had to do that, of course, So, but he was given another opportunity to continue purifying himself and become qualified to go back to spiritual world later on. And later, of course, Vishnudutta themselves came to take him to spiritual world. But he's here to continue his purification process afterwards.
Okay, thank you very much. Great. Very wonderful.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
So Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam, because today's session was very hopeful, and many points are getting cleared as we are going forward. Prabhuji, my question about, see, you said that regarding criticism and condemning, that we shouldn't be criticizing or condemning it, like it is prohibited by Lord Krishna. But ultimately, Prabhuji, we live in a society, and there are so many things sometimes you come across. There's so many crimes because Kaljug has its own flaws. And there are so many crimes being committed towards senior citizens, towards women, towards children, which is very difficult to tolerate. And you end up, condemning or criticizing. Should that also be avoided? Because as you said that, the moment Krishna enters, everything becomes pure. So are we committing an aparad again when we come up, do such a thing?
If we really blaspheme someone, especially devotee blaspheme, that is the point here actually. Somebody who is chanting the holy name or spreading Krishna consciousness, and if momentarily if they fall down and if we criticize, that is what being addressed here, but not anybody else, but best way is to refrain from criticizing others. It is Krishna's job, it's not our job, but yes, a Vaishnava heart greatly feels pain when somebody, innocent person, is being harassed by the non-devotees. Then naturally, like other day, I remember that I was criticizing about this Ukraine war. So millions and so millions of people, were really needlessly, thousands and thousands of people became needlessly being killed. Children become, orphaned and sown by the Russian army. All these things, because that naturally my heart become very pain, but nonetheless, we should not do that. We should let Krishna take care of that, but it happens, like you said, when somebody very totally innocent. So when the Lord is blasphemed or his devotee is blasphemed, then we should really stand up and protest that, and that is there. Thank you, Mataji. But by and large, it is better not to criticize, because we don't know who the other side is, okay? Because we might be criticizing a devotee, we shouldn't do that. That is an aparadha.
Okay. Noted. Very good.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Oh, Dandavat Radha.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So question, Prabhuji, karma, sorry, jnana is subservient to karma, because unless until you come to the nishkam karma, you can't go to the jnana, because that is the link is there. My question is that, is there any link from karma to Ashtanga Yoga? Because next letter is Ashtanga Yoga. Is there any link like that, Prabhuji?
Yeah, before you come to the Jnana platform, there is Ashtanga Yoga. Yoga is there, right? To purify or control of mind and soul, like, because purification of mind is there, required, prerequisite before you come to Jnana platform, But I'm not seeing anything. Maybe Sharad Prabhu might say something whether Ashtanga Yoga is required to come to Jnana platform. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. But
Maybe
some karma yoga that we heard that it's required.
Right. So I think maybe I'm wrong. We say karma, jnana, and then Ashtanga Yoga, and then Bhakti, right? The ladder goes the other way, right?
Yeah. Ashtanga yoga means it's like a yama and niyama, right? And
Correct.
that is actually meant to purify the mind. Ashtanga Yoga, the first of the 8 limbs, the first 2 limbs are there actually to purify our mind by the breathing processes and the sitting postures that control our mind. And that is required. In that regard, it is dependent on that to come to Jnana platform. You cannot get to Jnana platform unless you control your mind.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So there is one way of the Ashtanga Yoga, the Yama and Niyama, the breathing posture, pranayama, that is helpful in controlling your mind. So that regard, you might say that it is dependent on that, just like jnana dependent on karma, nishkam karma.
Yeah. So Prabhuji, again, one more question. Just now Prabhuji asked, it was very wonderful. So I'm just, my thought is going, can we do bhakti in other planet? I'm just going back to that, Prabhuji. So normally it is said that, all karmas are only created when you are in a human form. That's a number one. And in earthly planet, all others are bhoga. Like whatever you accumulate here, go to the heavenly planet and you exhaust. Normal perception is that in a Swarga Loka, you can't generate karma, good or bad karma. There's only bhoga. That means you exhaust that. That's understanding. But the example is very appropriate. How come Lord went there and all that, even Narkaloka, right? So everything got liberated. How that it is impacted. So I'm not still able to reconcile. Another place, Prabhuji, there's an example of Janak Maharaj. When he was going there, he also passed from the hellish planet, and there was agitation. Some not in Bhagavad Puran, some other Puran mentioned, because he is also one of the 12 Mahajana. So question is that understanding only in a human form karmas are generated, and only in earthly planet we can get the karmas, but other places you have to exhaust, right, Prabhuji?
Actually, it's not like the human forms are not there in other planets. Remember, there are 400,000
Right.
species of humans, right? So in
Hmm.
other planets, humans are there, much more advanced in higher planetary systems, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and so on like that, that is there. So I'm not sure that you cannot do bhakti in higher planetary system. In fact, Tapaloka, Janaloka, they also render bhakti.
Hmm.
So bhakti is allowed. Even in the, I would say, even in the lower animal forms, they might not be able to render bhakti, but you have noticed that many times certain animals revolve around the temple area and so on like that. They bypass the evolutionary ladder and they eventually get human form of life, because you have to have a human form of life to become free from this material existence. Only through human form of life you can go back to spiritual world. In fact, Devaloka, Kshine Punya, Shidram Avishanti, Mrittiloka. So even those demigods, when they are there only because of their bank balance of the pious acts, as soon as that gets depleted, they still have to descend back to the earthly planet. That is there. So earthly planet is very important in that regard,
So again, coming Prabhu's question.
Might shed more light because of his reading, but that is my understanding.
Yeah, it's a mention earthly planet only you can go to Vaikuntha, or you can go to the any other planet also.
Within earthly planet is even the Bharat Varsha
is there.
That is much more glorified. To being born in Bharat Varsha. Now remember, at that time Bharat Varsha was the whole planet.
Yes.
Until even after the Pandavas were there, the whole planet was like that. Now, of course, it's India, but still that is where to get a birth in India is extremely very, very fortunate thing to take birth in India, So you don't underestimate that we are all born in India. Right now I'm in America, but I feel proud that I was born there, and I'm very proud of the heritage, Vedic heritage that we have. But ultimately boils down, just because you are born in India, don't take full pride in that if you're not doing bhakti, because it's your duty. Prabhupada used to say that every Indian has an obligatory role to preach bhakti, Krishna bhakti, to everywhere. So
thank you,
so that we must keep in mind. we have the prime duty not only practice ourselves, but to help others to bring to Bhakti platform. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Anyone else? We have a lot of time.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
Prabhuji, if Bhakti Yoga is superior to Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga,
No.
people still do follow it. So is it that they do lack Shraddha or they do lack mercy of Lord? Or both that
Mercy of the great devotees. We don't come to Bhakti platform unless some devotee in our previous lives, Sikriti, Agyata Sikriti, without knowing some good deeds might have done, and that might have attracted some devotees, So then only we come to Bhakti platform. So that is required. Without a devotee's mercy, and that I remember just a few weeks back, a Madhyam Adhikari, they've been given that power, that Krishna has invested that power to Madhyam Adhikari, who really preaches, bring us to our Bhakti platform, So that's very important. Devotee's mercy is most important. Thank you, Mataji. Any other point, Mataji?
Thank you, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. It is not Lord's mercy, it is devotee's mercy that is required.
So devotee's mercy, and we being a devotee is our job to help others.
Yes, yes.
Corollary is also true.
So, Prabhu, so we should not matter whether the other person is taking or not. So our responsibility to start giving it. So let the fortunate souls take. Yes, Prabhu,
Let
that is what we should.
Let people hear Krishna Katha, the holy name, chanting on the holy name.
Yes, Prabhu.
Any other questions, comments before I turn it over to Sharad Prabhuji? Hare Krishna. Sharad Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Before I start, can I request Archana Mataji to comment on that connection between Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga? Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. So, I don't know, according to my knowledge, Jnana Yoga platform and Ashtanga Yoga. So, Jnana Yoga, the main thing a person is wanting to do is to get Brahman realization, which is Nirvikara. And so, Nirakar Brahman, they are aiming towards, whereas the Ashtanga Yogi is aiming towards Sakar. So only based on these two, they are different. Otherwise, their path is the same. Means they need the same things like Nishkam Karma Yoga to go forward. Otherwise, that is the only two things distinguishing the two paths. One is Sakara because he wants to get Paramatma realization, which is Sakar. And Ashtanga Yogi wants Paramatma realization, which is Sakar. That means it has an Akar, it has a form. So he is going towards form. So that is why it is higher than Nirakar, which is it okay, Sharad Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, you are right. And any
tomorrow's class we will hear there are three kinds of Gyanis actually. We will hear tomorrow, okay?
Okay, Prabhu.
And Archana Mataji, you want to say something about this Apichet Sudurachara 930 Bhagavad Gita, which we learned from Sarathavarshini Tika, which is not actually there in the English version of Bhanuswami's translation, but there is something very interesting given in the Sanskrit version. Archana Mataji, you want to say something on that?
Okay. Sorry. I can say a little bit. Apichet Sudurachara is a very, very rare case. It's an extremely different case. It's not like ordinary person doing some Duracharata. Where Jiva Goswami's commentary is very clear. Where someone has strong faith but he doesn't know the Shastras. Jiva Goswami says, someone has strong faith, that means he's in the Shastra, but he doesn't know that, he doesn't know the Shastras. That means he doesn't have the Shastra Vishwas, but he is, Shastrartha Vishwas is not there, but he is having some strong faith in doing Ananya Bhakti. He is doing Ananya Bhakti with according to Loka Parampara Jata Shraddha. That means the Shraddha, the faith which is born out of Loka Parampara. That means what earlier people had talked to them, talked to him, or whatever. So according to that, if he is doing Ananya Bhakti, but he doesn't have Shastrartha Vishwasa, and therefore he doesn't know that he should not commit wrong actions. So such people, if they are like, so example, they are like tribals, they are cutting and eating animals, but they have developed Ananya Bhakti by someone's mercy, some devotees' mercy, they have attained, developed Ananya Bhakti, but they don't know that cutting and eating animals and all is wrong. So he has not read the Shastras. But now he is cutting and eating animals and also doing Ananya Bhakti. Like this, he is living his life. So for there is no karma. So, but that is his mode of living. So then such a person should be considered a sadhu. So this is very simple. But if a person who has read Shastras, is knowing Shastras, he knows what is Nama Aparad, and is doing sinful actions on the strength of the holy name, then what will happen? Then there will be, well, then will there be no offense? Oh, then what is left? So then how can this apply to him? So then everyone will say, I am also doing Ananya Bhakti. I will also commit sinful activities. So you must accept me as sadhu. How can he be a sadhu? Like that, we cannot accept anybody like that as a sadhu.
Now, Mataji,
So,
even Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur,
yeah, I'm coming to that.
the next verse says that it doesn't give license to anyone. Purposeful. He said by mistake it happens, then Krishna.
Yes. I'm coming to that 1 minute. I'll just finish. So this is Jiva Goswami's commentary. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that even after coming to Ananya Bhakti, okay, for a short while that Duracharata will exist because you're accustomed to it in the past. So even if let's say you come to Ananya Bhakti, suddenly it will not go. So like the fan when you switch off, suddenly the fan cannot be stopped. So suddenly the Duracharata cannot be stopped. It will exist, but it will very quickly, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. So Krishna will help such a person who has come to Ananya Bhakti, who has come, but he has little Duracharata. Then Krishna will help him to become Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Very fast, very quickly he will become dharmatma. He did not say that he can do that for years and years like that. But later on, he will also talk about that. That's why we have to see in which case what he is going to say. Means in future also he will talk about it. So after coming to Ananya Bhakti, he will become Dharmatma in short time. And the remnants of his subtle form like Kama, Krodhadi, then all this, what to say, Shashwat Shanti, that all will means completely is free from this, all forever he is free. Very shortly. This is one meaning. And you can take him to be a sadhu for a short while. It means short while he is showing Duracharata. So that short while you can take him to be a sadhu also, although he is showing Duracharata. So another meaning is that he is doing Ananya Bhakti and he is very repenting very strongly for doing such sinful activity. He is feeling so low, thinking of him being so disgraceful. What is this I am doing? He is crying. He is repenting like anything. He is not saying that I am doing everything. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't think of himself. Okay, it's okay. I'm chanting and I can continue doing this Duracharata. No, but he is thinking of himself as most fallen. He's breaking down many times. And so this type of two people are there. One is he is little bit for a short while, the Duracharata is there, and then he becomes a Dharmatma. And the second one is that he's totally, completely thinking of himself as very lowly, very, very disgraceful, and he's crying for that. He's repenting like anything. So these two types of people, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is telling, not for those who think that I will keep on enjoying, and this verse appreciates Durachari that will not apply to such a person. This verse applies only in these two cases: one who repents like anything, breaks down and is heartbroken, or the one he has come to Ananya Bhakti and does it only for a short while, or one who has Laukik Shraddha, Laukika Shraddha, like that. So is it okay, Prabhu?
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji, for clarifying this thing. In fact, that is on the strength of the holy name, I've got a license to commit Durachara. That is a Nama Parada, So one has to be very careful. So that the key word that you used, great remorse, is there, that this is by me, and I've committed something, I feel so sorry about it, then Krishna takes care of that. So you made it very clear that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
We have about 10 minutes left.
Yes, Prabhuji, that is the seventh Nama Parada that we will be learning in detail in the subsequent classes. I have got just 2 points. Prabhuji very shortly told a story that anybody can chant the Lord's name and there is no restriction of time or anything else. In this connection, I want to tell you a short story about Gopal Guru Goswami. Just remember the name of Gopal Guru Goswami, because that will come in our next course, that is Jaiva Dharma, and a very great portion is covered in that. Gopal Guru Goswami, he was a disciple of Bhakreshwar Pandita. Now, he was born in a family in Odisha only. And there is a story about how the word Guru was applied to his name. Now, he, at the very tender age of about 5 years or so, he was serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu used to affectionately call this boy Gopal. How he became known as Gopal Guru is a very interesting story. Now, from his childhood, Gopal served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and it is said that once prior to Mahaprabhu's departure from Puri, Gopal happened to notice that while the Lord was going to answer a call of nature, he held his tongue between his teeth. Now, when asked by the boy about the behavior, Mahaprabhu said that the tongue couldn't stop chanting, but it was improper while he was engaged in the call of nature. Now, Gopal, as a small boy of 5 years, he remarked that, Prabhu, you are the Supreme Lord and everyone follows you. What if someone, while relieving themselves, left the body? And what would be his destination if he were not chanting the name of the Lord? Now, Mahaprabhu became very much pleased, and he said, you have spoken correctly, and from today you shall be known as Guru. Now, this is about Gopal Guru Goswami. And Prabhuji was telling the story of Twastha and Vishwarupa. I'll just explain a little of it, how karma does not help us. And if any mistake is there in the karma kanda, then you have to reap the results of that. Whereas in Bhakti, it is not there. Like you take the name of Krishna, Krishna's name is taken in many ways by many people differently, but the Lord accepts that they are taking the name of Krishna only. Now here, what happened, Twastha Rishi, he wanted to kill Indra. That's why he did a yajna which is known as Marana Yajna. Now Vishwarupa, finally, as you know, he was killed by Indra, and he did this Marana Yajna, and in this there was a mantra, and that mantra said, Hataputra Tata Tvastha Jivandriya Indra Satro Vivardhana. So now this word Satro should have been pronounced as Satro only, but the priest he announced it as Satro, that is elongated it. Now in Sanskrit Vyakaran, the sabas changes as per the swara. Now in Indra Satru, it is Tatpurusha Samas is there, because in the end of Indra Satru, you is there. If it is uttered as Uddhata, that is Indra Satro, then it becomes Bahubri Samas. Then the meaning totally changes. Now in the beginning, it was uttered as Uddhata, that is Ikara, but later on it was changed, that is from Indra is to kill, it turned to be killed by Indra. Now that's why you have to be very, very careful if somebody is following the Karmakanda or the Vedic procedure, then you have to utter the mantras very, very correctly, otherwise the opposite will happen. Whereas in the path of bhakti, you chant the name of the Lord in any way, even in improper way, then also you get the result, which is not there in any other path. That's why this it is established that the best thing is to practice bhakti only. This much I have to say. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. So now it's time to wrap up. So I will request Sagar Prabhu to conclude the class with Nashima prayer. Sagar Prabhu, if you are there.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please
Hare
accept my humble session. All good to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasimhai. Namaste Narasimhai. Prahlad Ladai. Prahlad Ladai. Hiranyakasi Purvakshar. Hiranyakasi Purvakshar. Chilatankar Nathali. Chilatankar Nathali. Ito Narsingha, Parata Narsingha, Ito Narsingha, Parata Narsingha, Ite Yami, Ito Narsingha, Ite Yami, Ito Narsingha, by Narsingha, Viday Narsingha, by Narsingha, Viday Narsingha, Narasingha Madhin Saranam Prapade, Narasingha Madhin Saranam Prapade. Bhakala Kamala Bhare Nakha Singham Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanu Bringam Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Bhakala Kamala Bhare Nakha Singham Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanu Bringam Kesavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare. Narsimdev Bhagwan ki jai, Bhakta Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Charu Prabhu ki jai, Sarad Prabhu ki jai, Gurudev ki jai, all Ashamati devotee ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes,
Dandavat
thank you.
pranam.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. all wish all the Vaishnavas. So I look forward to see you all back again tomorrow um, for the lesson 6 now, and we will see there are 3